choosing the right dog trainer here in Rolling Hills Estates, well, it's a pretty big decision, isn't it? In this guide, we're going to walk through everything you need to know, from the different training methods out there to what it might cost, so you can feel really confident about the choice you make for you and your dog. You know, life here on the peninsula is pretty special. We've got these incredible scenic trails and peaceful, quiet streets, and having a well-trained dog with you just makes it all better. They're not just a pet, they're the best companion for enjoying everything this area has to offer. Okay, so let's start with the absolute foundation, the training method. It is so important to find an approach that really clicks with both you and your dog's personality. Honestly, the single most important thing to look for is a trainer who uses positive reinforcement. This is the modern, humane, and incredibly effective way to train. Instead of focusing on correction or punishment, it's all about rewarding the good stuff, the behaviors you want to see. It doesn't just teach commands, it really builds a powerful, trusting bond between you two. So what does this training actually look like? Well, you've usually got two main options. On one hand, you have group classes. These are fantastic for getting your dog socialized and used to working around other dogs, and they're usually a bit easier on the wallet. Then you've got private lessons. This is where you get that one-on-one focused attention, perfect for tackling very specific behaviors you're seeing at home. And beyond those, you might see some more specialized programs. Puppy training, of course, is all about getting them started on the right paw. Behavior modification is for tackling tougher issues like anxiety or reactivity. And then there's board and train, which is a super intensive option where your dog lives with the trainer. It can be effective, but you have to be absolutely sure they're using positive, humane methods. Okay, you know what kind of training you want, but how do you find the right person for the job? Vetting a trainer properly is probably the most critical part of this whole process. Here's something important to know. Dog training is an unregulated industry in California. That means anyone can call themselves a trainer. That's why certifications are so key. Things like CPD-TK or KPA-CTP show that a trainer has actually invested in their education and has been tested on their knowledge and skills. It's a great sign of professionalism. So when you're talking to a potential trainer, here's your checklist. You've got to ask about their philosophy. You're listening for positive reinforcement. Ask about those certifications we just mentioned. And then get into the practical stuff. How do you customize a plan for my dog? How do we know if it's working? And of course, can you give me a full cost breakdown so there are no surprises? Which brings us to money. Let's talk about what you can expect to pay for dog training because the costs in Rolling Hills Estates and the South Bay area are pretty specific to our region. Just to give you a quick baseline, a single 1-hour private lesson is typically going to fall somewhere in this range. Now, keep in mind, most trainers offer packages of multiple lessons, and that can bring the per session cost down a bit. And here's a broader look at the numbers. You can see a 6-week group class might be a few $100s, whereas a board and train program is a much bigger investment, often running into the thousands. This should give you a good feel for the local market so you can figure out what works for your goals and your budget. All right. Good training isn't just about what happens inside your house. It's also about being a great dog owner out in our community. So let's cover a few key local rules and resources. First things first, the leash law. Here in Rolling Hills Estates, and that includes all the parks and trails, your dog has to be on a leash that is no longer than 6 feet. It's a simple rule, and it's for everyone's safety and comfort. Next up, these are the LA County requirements. Every single dog over 4 months old has to be vaccinated for rabies and licensed with the county. And that little license tag, it needs to be on their collar anytime you're out. It's the law. Now for the fun part, practicing all those new skills. The peninsula has some amazing places to work on leashed walking. The South Coast Botanic Garden actually has special dog-friendly weekends. And local spots like George F. Canyon Preserve or Del Cerro Park are just perfect for practicing in a beautiful, real-world setting. This naturally leads to a big question people have. Okay, we've got the leash walking down, but what about off-leash skills, like recall? Where can you even practice that safely and legally? The best way to start is with what's called a long line, which is basically a 30-foot leash. It gives your dog freedom while you still have control. An open space like Pollywog Park is great for this. Once their recall is getting really solid, then you can check out some of the fenced-in dog parks in nearby Redondo or Hermosa Beach. You know, when it comes right down to it, finding a great trainer isn't just about teaching sit and stay. It's about building that connection that leads to happier, less stressful walks at Del Cerro Park, calmer visits when neighbors pop by, and just a more peaceful and enjoyable life at home. Putting in the effort to find the right trainer now is going to pay off every single day, at home, when you're out and about, and with your family and friends. We wish you the best of luck on your training journey.